winterizing my boat this year. This year, unlike most years, I'm running stable on the lake this time. Only because I wanted to get out one more time. So if you're gonna use this stable, you use 1 ounce every 2.5 gallons of gas you have in your tank, and they recommend having your tank at 95% full to avoid condensation getting in your tank. All right, let's get into the rest of the winterization. This is a 4.3 Merc Cruiser. I've done it like this in my 3.0 Merc Cruiser, 5.0, 5.7, 4.5 is it? And the reason why I like to do the winterization while it's not running is because you have to wait for the thermostat to open up, and sometimes people don't do that right and it can crack your block. So, and sometimes you can't even get your boat started. Sometimes you don't have access to water to run your boat, and I always recommend running your boat with water. So let's get into winterization. Here we go. I like to document how many hours I have on it every year. So right now I have 169.8 hours. That way I can see how many hours I pretty much put in every year. Well, it's October, so that means it's winterizing time. Again, I'm not going to try to waste your time in this video. I'm going to go straight to the point. This time in this video though, I'm going to do something different. I'm not going to run it in the video because a lot of people can't run it or they don't have access to water. So I'm going to winterize it and do the basics this time. Lower end oil, coolant in the engine. You can get away with that. I did run this boat, which I'll show a clip. Just running seafoam through the lake, through the boat, so it looks like I'm having fun. I'm actually winterizing the boat. Of me running this boat with seafoam in it. I normally just do it in my driveway, but this year I ran it on the lake. So here we go. I'm using the pretty high rated -75 here. I've seen it up -100. This will do fine in Minnesota. It gets up to sometimes -50. I'm gonna need 1.5 quarts maybe of my lower end fluid for my Alpha 1 Gen 2 Merc Cruiser. And in 1992 and older, they did not have a reservoir inside the boat. In newer, they do have a reservoir. So this one does have the reservoir. Let's get right into it. Sorry, lighting's gonna be a little bit goofy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make the lower end as level as I can get it, which I have. So what I did is I dropped the front of the trailer down basically to bring the back end all the way up. And that way I can reach everything. So there's a bottom drain bolt. You want to do that first and then the top. And you can try to fill it from the top. It just won't fill. It's very hard to explain, I guess. But pull this after you get your bottom bolt. I got a little cardboard down to kind of help. It's really hard not to drip. It just happens. So again, I'm going to do the bottom bolt first. Oh shit. That's not good. What am I going to do about that? Okay. I just dropped my drain bolt in the bottom of the drum here. Okay, now that I got my bottom bolt out, which it unfortunately went in my drain pan, I am cleaning off the metal shards of the magnet. Now the lighting's bad here, so that's why I'm doing the video angle this way. Then you do the top bolt up here. You want to get your wide screwdriver, your standard screwdriver. There. Now it'll start draining out faster. And you want to make sure you get your rubber grommets. So there's, so you got two, probably a little blue or yellow grommets that go around your oil seal. Make sure you find those and save them. If they're bad, replace them. It's very inexpensive if you have a place by you. My top grommet is perfect. I'm just gonna leave that top grommet up there. Now I'm gonna let this drain for a while. Okay, I let it drain out for a while. I had to run up to actually the parts store because my blue grommet tore and I don't want to mess around. You want to make sure your grommets are in great shape. They're about $1.50 each possibly. Right around there. So I'm not trying to drain my Gen 2 pump reservoir because that oil was always new and clean. So now that I let it drain for a while, and water is heavier than oil, so it would have came out first if there was any, and there was not any water. So now that I think it's mostly drained, except for the reservoir, I am going to get out my pump I got at Walmart for $10. Put this thing on there. you can just leave your lower end empty for the winter, but I prefer to fill it back up so I'm ready for spring. And the reason why you want to unload your lower end of all the oil and water is because if it has water in there, it can burst. Okay, now I got that in there. I'm gonna screw this into my pump. I'm gonna pump it up. I'm gonna pump it up until the hole in the top, the oil comes out of the hole in the top. I have way better lit videos for that. If you want, I'll share a link at the end. Just a quicker one, just lower end. This one I'm gonna do the lower end, and I'm going to do the coolant in the engine. Now some people I get a lot of hate for not doing an oil change sometimes in the fall. Project Farm did a video where he sent out oil that was 9 months old and new oil to see if it had any acidic qualities in it, and it did not. So he thinks that it's all a myth. And according to the science in that video where they sent it to a lab, it is a myth. But I prefer also to do an oil change in the fall, but this year I'm gonna do it in the spring because I don't want the condensation in the engine to taint the oil at all. So I'm just gonna do the oil change in the spring. I only put 10 hours in the boat this year. The boat's got 69.5 hours. So I hardly even use the boat. Let's just say there's acidic qualities in there. Not much in mine. So I'm waiting again for it to come out the top here. It's gonna take about 1/4 and 1/10 maybe. Nothing better than having new lower end oil. They say you go about 100 hours for every lower end oil. I've heard 50. I just do it every fall. I don't put 50 hours on my boat in a season. So I'm gonna get ready for the next one here. And then once it starts filling up, you're gonna put the top screw in and then unscrew the bottom thing. And you wanna have the boat level. That way it doesn't have an air pocket in the top. And then after this, you're gonna wanna check your lower end oil reservoir inside. Again, that's 92 and newer. So what I usually do is, I'll get down to the bottom. It's really hard to pump it when it starts getting full, and then I'll just top the other one off so I don't waste any. There it comes. It's starting to come now. So I'm gonna give her a couple of good solid pumps. Put this in. Again, it's about 1/4 and 1/10. So give that, make sure you have your grommet. Give it a good snug. Then you're gonna unscrew it, get ready with your other one here. It's gonna start draining out right away. But it won't drain out fast because you have the top one in and it has pressure in there that it needs air to get in there in order for the lower end to escape. Or the oil. There. Okay? Now that that's done, I'm gonna pump the rest of this oil into the container here. And I'm gonna pour this in there. That way it doesn't go to waste and I can not have a bunch of containers in my house. There we go. Some for next year and an empty one. Perfect. So now I'm gonna go hang this over some newspaper in the garbage probably, or in my drain oil thing that'll be draining here. I'm gonna get some rags and wipe everything up. Simple as that. Step one. Okay, now that I got my lower end oil done, I am going to pour the coolant into the main hose here and purge the system basically after I pull the 5 drain plug screws to drain the block. Again, pulling the blue drain screws, 5 of them, drain the block, and then purge the system with coolant. I'm gonna do a video link of where the drain plugs are after this video. Okay, I pulled my 5 blue screws. I drain the block. I'm gonna take these hoses off after I put the blue screws back in. Pour the coolant down in there until this one, and then until it goes, this one right here. This one goes to lower end. Make sure your lower end impeller area gets filled up. Basically, I'm using 3 gallons. Okay, now that I filled my whole engine full of, biodegradable marine coolant, RV coolant, I'm tipping my boat back all the way. I'm gonna let the air dry out the back compartment. I'm gonna put the lower end up so I can put it where I'm gonna store it, and then when I get there, I'm gonna put it down. I'm gonna pull the battery out, put it in the basement, put a slow charge on it all year, or like a maintain charge. And then what I do is I build like a rack in the front of the boat here, and in the middle of the boat, like that. And I put my lily pad in the middle of the boat, that way the snow can't cave in my tarps. I put about 3 tarps on typically, just to make sure it's on there super good. And again, this is a very quick video. I have longer, more in depth, better camera, better lighting angle videos, but this one I just want to do really quick. That's how you winterize it. Have a good day.